Hello, everybody, and welcome to a perfectly normal stream. Nothing weird is happening over here.
100%
100% normal. Nothing is going on. Uh, morning, everybody, or evening. How are you doing? Or afternoon. Oh, God, it's so weird.
Afternoon.
Yeah.
Morning, you two.
Almost morning.
Yeah,
2 hours.
yeah.
2 hours will be morning.
2 hours. Oh my god, I'm way off. Oh dear.
For you guys, because I turned my AC on and have a fan blowing into the room so I don't die today.
Of course, because Americans are like, why would I save the planet when I could enjoy air conditioning in every single home across the country?
But
Oh yeah, by the way, insulation doesn't exist because our houses are made of paper mache. Literally wasp houses.
yours are?
Yeah, actually,
No,
yeah.
yours.
Oh, no, mine
Your
isn't.
houses are really weirdly constructed. When I went over there, they are flimsy as fuck compared to
right.
houses. here.
If you're talking about new, I don't know. My house was built in 1840 and has survived
Yeah,
since.
but that's a British
Oh.
house.
Yeah, there you go. You gotta go.
1840, excuse me, sir, is well after our independence. It's well after we whooped the empire's ass. You're welcome. In Australia, you're welcome for opening the gateway for you to get your own independence. So you're welcome for that one too. Freedom.
See, we didn't have to fight a war. We were just
Freedom.
like, no, we're having independence. Bye.
Well, that's because they were licking their wounds in the other room. You know what I mean? What year did you guys get your independence? And when I say independence, I mean it loosely because you still have the same queen. No.
I should know
Yeah,
this
but
off by
the
heart,
Queen's she's cool, right?
Sure. Is this
Everyone
dead
likes
yet?
the Queen.
Yeah, everyone likes.
If you don't like the Queen, there's something wrong with you.
I don't know enough about the queen. I just know she's a raisin.
I love the faces.
She's like 90.
the
She's not raisin. She's doing well for her age. If you look that good at her age, with
She was
all the
really
royal
good.
responsibility that she's had.
I'm sure she's had work.
How good is Prince Philip? Just saying. Is he the Boris Johnson of the room?
Yeah, he's up there. He keeps crashing his car at the moment.
And then he lost his license.
They had to take his license off.
Yeah.
But he still drives around on the estate.
Oh,
That's
there
legal.
goes that fountain.
Private property, you know? Safe. Fine, don't worry about it.
Anyways, yeah. Don't buy a new home, and don't get a house that's been freshly remodeled unless you oversaw the remodeling yourself, because they cut every corner. Like literally, houses here are made out of like pressure treated pine. It's like
Paper mache.
and they're like 4x4s are actually like 3 1/4 by 3 1/4, and you're like, it sounds like your math is wrong. It's bad. But we don't need to go into that. Let's worry about, instead of the collapsing infrastructure of the American society.
Let's run about the collapsing infrastructure of our
Let's go to
kingdom.
the swelling infrastructure of. Did you guys ever come up with a name for your kingdom?
No. No. I like. There was
It's
some
session
suggestion-
one, because I did a pre-session, was what we did for last week. Season 2, session 1, and you guys don't have a kingdom name yet? Come on. Come on. What's up,
Well,
Devin?
you were just saying someone had one, didn't you? Is that what you
I was
said?
someone who had like a city name, Kurzfell, which I quite liked.
Yeah, I think that was Naga. I really liked that one as well. Cursefall, for like, I thought maybe this city would be a good one for it because it's literally with a Cursefell, and so on and so
And
forth.
then they all just proceeded to beat on Fortree. They were just like, shit name.
Well, to be fair though, only one person came up with the name, and the other two were like, yeah, I guess I got no ideas at the moment. Yeah.
I liked it. I liked the Cursefell better though. That does actually.
So
sound-
we just retcon change the city.
Yeah, that's fine. We change the city name to Cursefall. That's fine. But it's how do you want to spell
let's
it?
change my name to Caesar and your name to Brutus.
I'm fine with that too.
Not you, Tesh.
How did you want to spell Cursefall?
K-U-R-S or Z-F-A-L.
What's Zed?
Let me find it. I'm doing it.
All right, I'm doing it right now. Fortree is being renamed to my apologies, Kursfall.
Yeah, Kurzfell.
Okay.
So Kurzfal.
Oh, sorry, Z. My apologies. You said that, and I made a joke, and then I forgot that you said Z instead of. Sorry. My apologies. And then if you guys pop into and patrons over on Patreon, you guys have access to the Kingdom Tracker as well. You're welcome to look at it too, if you should care to. Right now, still, I only have access for manipulation of it. All right. So we were going to do one more roll of the kingdom. But before we get into one more roll of the kingdom, we're going to have a fun little RP moment where we're going to handle what was rolled last session, which was there was the faith and loyalty problem kind of appeared for you, where the subjects of your building community, it's not really a kingdom yet, your building community, were having questions as to whether or not they should, like what gods should be put in the forefront, whether or not other gods should be questioned as to they should be able to worship them, so on and so forth. And this could have just been a simple die roll, but Jake wanted to handle this like in person. So why don't we start with how this actually plays out in your actual kingdom? So we're kind of rewinding by several weeks' time for the actual rolling aspect of the game. So the only thing that really is going to change for this is I don't think you guys actually built the first the second shrine yet. You're like literally the second shrine is still in construction. It's not done being built yet. When someone's gonna come rolling into the three of you are meeting, like going over plans. We're gonna be building this here and this is gonna here. And how's expansion going over to the east? Oh, good. We've almost made our way to the river. It's important. Lay down farmlands over there. And after the farmlands are settled and everybody's good, we'll see if we can finish pushing our way to the river. It's super important for commerce, and that kind of conversation is happening amongst you guys. When it's going to be Kithel that makes his way into the room, followed probably about like as he's approaching you guys, several moments later, you're gonna have Dwayne walking in behind him, and so Kithel comes walking in and makes his way over to you. And it's this funny little thing where things have transitioned over the past couple weeks. Is people are handling things differently as they're all trying to get used to the new structure. So once you guys kind of finish your conversation and you turn your attention to Kithel, whomever it might be, you turn your attention over to Kithel. He actually does this like slight, awkward, short bow. It's very like rigid bow towards you guys as he gets your attention. Dwayne, however, settles up next to him and doesn't bow at all. Just stands next to him kind of comfortably. Do any of you address them or just awkwardly stare at them?
Awkwardly stare at Dwayne, waiting.
Okay, so as you guys are just staring, Kithel says,
There is a situation that I think you might want to handle. In our community, there are a group of citizens that are having discussions here and there by the tavern, over by the work area. It was a few at first, but has expanded. They are questioning the authority over the faith of our home here.
Ooh. Sorry, something in my throat.
What do you mean?
Dwayne kind of cuts in and says, you had set up a trio of faiths that you want to, of course, push forward. The three of you haven't been chosen by these gods to bring together these lands. Whether or not they think it's valid is going to have to happen one at a time. I personally, as you know, don't question it. I saw what happened in the land when... Anyways, they're not necessarily questioning whether or not you were set here by those gods. It's more a matter of whether or not other gods should be restricted. As far as I understand, the only god that's really being the only faith that's really being restricted by the laws is Lady Aravel Darkeyes. I understand.
At the name, one spits on the ground.
There's like a stops dead in his tracks, waits until that moment passes, and then starts back up again. I understand that. I get it. Whether or not everybody agrees with it, though, is a different conversation. Some think that not only should Lady Aravel be allowed to be worshipped, but more than that, does it stop there? Are there other gods that should be worshipped? And so it's kind of become a snowball rolling downhill. It starts with Lady Aravel isn't worshipped, and now the question whether or not other gods are disallowed as well. It's caused a bit of unrest as people have a variety of faiths, always have in Idir. I mean, sure, there are people that kind of mostly worship the martyr anyways, as a not necessarily understood deity, but as a presence that's now being pushed forward as a deity. They're fine with that, but it's the restrictions that are bothering them. I wouldn't say so much as they're going to riots or anything like that. He kind of like looks to Kithil for that one.
No word or anything of violence, just unrest.
Still, it might hurt our growth. One, what is the particular reason that Lady Arabelle Dark Eyes is so disgusted by your faith?
One turns to you and he says, I'll speak to you two about it, and you two alone. Dwayne, Kithil, before you leave, is there a ringleader? Is somebody pushing forward this?
Not exactly. There are several names involved, but it's been kind of boiled down to two.
And he'll actually go back, gesture back to Dwayne. I went listening, kept my head low, and I've got a couple of people that report to me directly, allowing me to kind of like listen a little bit more. It seems like there's this one particular woman by the name of Nellie. She's the one that seems to be the most prominently well outspoken about Lady Arabelle specifically. And then there's another man as well. Strangely enough, his name is also Dwayne. Please don't confuse it with me. He's more concerned as to who the other gods that might be restricted are. Neither one of us have pushed back in any way, saying who is or isn't restricted or tried to do any enforcements. We kind of let things play out for the first couple of days. It's rolled into over a week now, and it's kind of gained a bit of momentum. Figured we'd discuss things with you first.
Dwayne, is the woman openly, like, wearing Lady Arabelle's symbol or anything like that? Because followers of her, I believe, have to openly show that they are her followers.
He looks a little ashamed as he says this next part. You can actually see he's tossing a side eye towards Kithil, like he's in borderline embarrassed to say this in front of Kithil, but he's like, no, she doesn't wear it on her person. This is when he does like the side eye to Kithil, and kind of like slightly under his breath. But when we looked into her home, she has markings there. And you can see, like, literally as he says that, Kithil kind of shifts slightly on his feet.
Can we, Dwayne, can you quiet her discreetly, or shall I kick down her door?
We need to tackle this carefully.
This is
I
a
understand.
delicate situation.
Yes.
Remember now, you don't want the breaker of chains chosen to be placing people in chains of death or otherwise.
That's not a chain.
What you are offering?
One looks extremely angry, and he kind of just turns and starts leaving, and he says, I'll speak with you soon.
Kithil will say to you, it'll be like, oh, hold on, one second, I gotta double check something. It is, oh no, where are you?
Chosen of the blade.
He stops and looks back.
I believe a simple summons would pull her here. You'd need only send word that her rulers wish to speak with her, and I'm sure she'll arrive.
One looks to Kithil and says, everyone who lives here under our banner know the rules, correct?
The rules are new, one. We should show leniency while we can. Later on, we won't have the opportunity. We should enjoy the fact that we can bend a little here and there. Perhaps we invite her up for a discussion. And if an amiable conclusion is not met, then she can leave. Vroga is not a murderer. You've shown me this time and time again that he fights with honor. This poor woman wouldn't stand a chance against you. You and I both know this.
You know, Lady Arabelle Dark Eyes was created in complete opposition to Vroga. She imprisoned him. Slavery stems from her.
That does explain a lot. To do with.
He looks towards Dwayne and Cthulhu and just says, leave us.
They nod and turn and walk out.
Okay, when they leave,
Well, I should say
comes over.
Kithel does a slight awkward bow again, and the other one nods.
After they leave, one would approach you both, and he just says, not only is Lady Arabelle, as I said, the complete opposition to Vroga, but this is also quite personal for me. You see, we never really lived in the one place, but we got around. When I was younger, our camp, I guess you could say, was attacked in the middle of the night. My mother was slaughtered in front of me, and I don't know what happened to my father, but most of the village, most of the camp was enslaved. All the children, the women were all killed. They seemed to only just take us. They were cultists to Lady Arabelle, and they kept me and the others for 3 years before the Order of the Broken Chain attacked and liberated us. There was many of us. They continued to raid settlements and camps and acquire more children. Some were sacrificed. Some were... we were all made to fight for their pleasure and their viewing. But when we were liberated, there was just 3 of us left. And I will not have any followers of Lady Arabelle in any kingdom I co-rule. And he looks at you again, he says, I will not.
Sorry to hear about your past. Neither
we don't need apologies, we just need to get rid of these people.
Neither I nor Valrun are disputing about the legality of worshipping Lady Arabelle. Simply the punishment at this stage. She does not openly display her faith as she walks around. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is in direct counter to one of the edicts of Lady Arabelle. Therefore, she is probably not as devout or fanatical as these cultists were. There are many depths and interpretations of faith. Just because one person following a leader or banner has done something doesn't mean that all of them would. And I'm not saying that we should simply let her go. I'm simply advocating a more mild response in this instance. The first time dissent is voiced in the kingdom, if we shut it down with an iron grasp or a steel battle axe, doesn't exactly herald itself as the land of freedom.
We risk helping her cause by making an example of her. If we can do this well and exile her, if she refuses, then it may be a better way to approach it. I agree, though, with what you said. I definitely do not agree with anything that this Arabelle stands for.
It does. It only takes one person to start, and I feel as though this woman is the start of things.
Exactly.
She's probably what's got the rest of them riled up. And while simple, followers are one thing, I feel as though she's actively, going completely against what we are saying. This is our lands. These are our rules. Exile is an option. However, is that what you suggest?
I would suggest that you summon this Nelly here and discuss it with her. Discuss it with her as you would acting on behalf of your god. Offer to break her chains.
I would kill her.
Is it not preferable?
We can summon her here, and we can say, "This is the law. I am the chosen of Brogar. I'm here for that reason."
You are
Because
not
he wills
the
it.
only chosen one. You would do
No.
well to remember that our friend here is the chosen of the martyr. We do not wish to create another martyr, and I believe her domains are that of forgiveness, compassion.
Not everyone that follows a god knows everything about them. It is possible that this person doesn't understand what it is she is following. It might be good to educate her, and you never know, we might convert her.
Summon her here, speak to her, and I'll check out her house while she's here.
Very well.
It's as good a deal as we're going to get, I think. So,
So of course the
I can see the wisdom in keeping one away from her right now.
yeah.
the ruins that you have been worked on for, at this point in time, it's a little over 2 months. No, sorry, it's almost a little over 3 months, because first to prepare, second to, so a little over 3 months you've been working on these ruins right now, trying to prepare them as what will inevitably be a much more grand building in your kingdom. It's kind of like where you're currently meeting your subjects and whatnot. So what they end up having to do is they have to move stuff out and in. There's these 3 large chairs. They're rather impressive looking in the fact that the highest quality they can do while still being able to be picked up and moved by 2-3 people. So they end up growing and picking up, hoisting these 3 chairs back into like the front chamber. So as soon as you walk in the front door is a huge ante-room with the stairs that went up beforehand. It's literally set directly in front of the chairs. It's the best they can do for a throne room right now, but they end up establishing it for you guys. Fun question, because there are 3 of you, how do you arrange yourselves in the seats? Do you have assigned seating, center, left, middle, based off of faith or alignment, or is it literally musical chairs, whoever sits where, when?
I'll take the seat on the right.
Okay.
I'd take the seat on the left.
I guess I'll take the middle one then.
All right, make sure it makes sense as a parent king. So just kidding. So you guys end up, the chairs go there. So the one seat is missing. This is the center and the left one that is prepared, that are sat in as summons are being made. As a summons is sent out before she arrives, you actually have, what's his name?
One thing he would say too is keep her here until I return.
Before she arrives, you actually have Elliot is going to come into the chambers. It's one of those times where you guys are probably not sitting quite just yet because you don't have her being announced to be coming in or anything like that. But Elliot would make his way in. He's got, a book in hand, like a little ledger that he's been working on in hand, keeping track of a couple of details going on. He's kind of balancing 3 tasks right now, which is making it a little difficult for him. He's trying to keep track of some stuff inside the kingdom, as well as doing his own personal work, as well as plans for outreaching to other, because he's supposed to be like the go-between. As a reminder, his position is the
Counselor.
The counselor
Yes.
of the kingdom. So,
Not to be confused with Scott's position, which also begins with a C and has a U and an N in it.
I'm sorry, which position was that? Could you remind me? What position was that? I'm sorry, I need. God, I can't remember. So counselor is also the liaison between you and the people. You know what I mean? So he comes walking in. He's got his ledger, and he walks in unceremoniously, like stands in front of the 2 of you who might have been having a discussion. Maybe you're sitting, maybe you're standing, and continues scribbling for like another 30 seconds or so.
I just look at Ryan.
Yeah, like they're having like a discussion on what one might do, and
Yes.
then Elliot was in. They just turn and wait.
Finally finishes what he's doing. He's like, and then looks up and says, "So I understand that you're going to be meeting with Nellie.
That's correct.
Indeed.
How is this going to be resolved?"
Well, we are going to attempt to talk to her. What happens otherwise may change things. Looking to where the seat would be for one, and then
It's a difficult one to predict. It depends on the amount of remorse she shows. At worst, it could result in an execution. I would be keen to avoid this.
agreed.
At best, it could result in perhaps a brand and her continued daily life in the city.
Remember when we were discussing all of the laws and you were having me draft them? Legal jargon and all that. He says more to Valrin, who is familiar with the legal jargon of Perrin, of Paradel. He says most of the laws were phrased eloquently in a way that people could understand the law, but also it gives a little bit of breathing room. When it came to this particular law, one was very, very blunt. And anytime I tried to add any form of flavor, context, or rephrasing, it was simply all worship of Lady Aravel Dark Eyes is prohibited and will be punished as such. So,
With
more or less
what-
the phrasing of it. Blunt.
What we know now, I think that was the appropriate approach.
What we know now is that we think it was... Sorry, Tesh, you're actually a little quiet. I do apologize.
Oh, my apologies.
Yeah, you're fine.
With what we know now, and I would look to Rayron, obviously talking about what we can't talk about, I would say that is the appropriate approach. This needs to be known that it is a strict thing.
Very well. Should I sit in on this?
I think that might be wise, Elliot.
Indeed.
He gestures over at the empty seat.
There's a step down
There's got to
there.
be another seat around here.
I'll stand in then, he says.
We note to stealth. We need to get him a seat.
And then pretty like a couple moments later, as you guys are starting to go over maybe another minute or two of other details and whatnot going on, and it's kind of like you end up having to put a pin into that conversation as you hear one of the kind of like recently appointed guards, recently appointed by the warden, comes walking in and says, "The Chosen, we have a Nelly here, summoned by you to speak with you." It's very informal, again, because everybody's still trying to find out what is the correct way to do things. and so they're saying that literally as she's like approaching the doorway, so it's not even like a moment. It's like, "Oh, sit down then, get all proper." She just sees you kind of like standing there and discussing.
Is she coming in already, or are we going to tell them to...
Standing
let
by
her
the
in?
doorway, they at least got that down. Don't actually have
Okay.
them walk the other 10 feet until we get
I would do the look to Rare and then let her in.
Okay. So you guys sit down or just continue standing?
Sit down.
Yeah, sit down.
Okay. And then we'll have what's his name? Elliot will be standing to the left of what's your name? Neil, because
Rayron.
of Rayron, yeah. Because that way he's kind of like grouped up with you guys. So she comes walking in, and she just looks like a common woman. You know what I mean? She has no particular. She's like she's dressed very well or very poor and like that. Just a typical commoner. Has a bit of soot on her and dirt and whatnot. As you imagine, she's been doing a lot of work. A lot of people have had to really pick up the slack with construction and whatnot. And they understand it's part of being here in a new kingdom. They have to build it, and it'll be worth it in the end because they'll be rewarded for the hard labor that they put in. That's kind of the mentality that a lot of people have been working with. So she comes in with that. But one thing that you do notice is on a bit of twine around her neck, she has currently hanging there the sigil of Lady Aravel, which is literally a sword. So it's kind of like simply carved from wood, but it's literally a sword with an eye in the crosshair of the sword, kind of like way too large for what would be a normal crosshair of the guard of the blade. So it's kind of like very stands out. And she comes in and she walks in and she seems a little awkward because she's clearly like an Idirian from before the fall of the curse. So they never really had leaders before. So she does like a curtsy-ish, bow-ish thing that looks almost like a stumbling monkey. You know what I mean?
What race is she?
Human.
Nelly, do you know why you've been summoned here today?
Oh, I don't right now. No.
Do you read?
I can a bit.
You know the laws of this kingdom?
Yeah, learning. You know, it's still pretty new.
There is one law in particular that is in regards to why you've been summoned here. This law is the worship of Lady Aravel Dark Eyes is outlawed.
Why?
Why?
Because she is the antithesis of Rogar, who is one of the chosen.
She's the goddess of tolerance and exception.
She's the goddess of obedience, forced or otherwise.
Sounds like it'd be a good goddess to have if you want people to follow the laws.
Not if you want people to have freedom. The freedom that has been granted to Idir has come in the power of 3 deities, not Lady Aravel Dark Eyes. If she had had her way, this would simply be another part of Peridel and you would be a slave.
Ah, so Dwayne was right. It is only those 3 gods. You can't worship anybody else.
Those are the 3 gods that you should worship. Lady Aravel is a god that you cannot worship. Other gods' worship will be tolerated unless it becomes problematic.
I don't understand why. You think that Lady Aravel wants everybody to be Perrin? That's dumb. I'm a Perrin. I mean, I'm not a Perrin. I'm a human.
Then you should know what they do to humans when they invade.
That's them. That's not us here. You're going to protect us from their invasions. You get them gods and whatnot to protect. Wouldn't you want Lady Aravel on your side too? If they come a calling with her banners, don't you want her banners on your side too?
I would much rather have the banner of Roga, the martyr. I don't think a book would be much use on a battlefield. Nonetheless.
But the knowledge is good for the planning. The issue is Rogar was instrumental with his chosen in breaking the curse on this land. Rogar is the antithesis of Aravel in the sense that he's freedom and the breaker of chains. Slavery is not acceptable here.
Do you know much of the history of the gods?
I know enough about Lady Aravel to know that she's not the maker of chains.
Lady Aravel was produced by the other gods in an act of jealousy against Rogar. He was too strong, too powerful, and so the other gods sought a way to undermine him. Lady Aravel was created, formed, and chained him for an awful long time. There is some bad blood between them. Rogar is now free, but there harbors a malcontent between the followers of both. Do you not see that what you have done breaks the law?
She gets a little squeamish about that because she was trying to be coy before, but it's pretty... You've stated it plainly 2 or 3 times now, and now are asking her flat out so she can't be coy any longer. And she's like, yeah, I knew.
So you knowingly broke the law?
Well, I also knowingly came here for a better life with what's supposed to be a good kingdom. Just seems like maybe not so much.
Rayrin's gonna stand and take a couple steps towards her.
Okay.
What would you expect to happen if you stole something?
She kind of is putting two and two together, and you can see it in her face immediately. She's like, yeah, he'd probably be slapped in some chains.
What do you think would happen if you stole something from someone very important?
Maybe a bit more of a punishment.
You have broken the law. It is clear what should happen. However, my friend Valrin here is the chosen of the Martyr, and he has an overwhelmingly compassionate heart, and an almost unlimited well of forgiveness. However, on the other hand, my other friend, the chosen of the Blade, has a rather large axe. I would ask now that you make a public statement of burning all your belongings, effigies, and figures of Lady Aravel Darkeyes. You will be given a reasonable fine, and you'll be allowed to continue living here, and I will remember that you have cooperated. If not, the chosen of the Blade may wish to have more than a word with you.
And with that, we're going to pause and cut camera to across town, where a certain someone was walking up to a door. How do we open the door?
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Well, I'm going to try and open it to begin with.
There are pretty much no homes with locks here because it's just a small town. Not everybody has the ability to... There's no locksmith here. So you go over, you open the door, opens.
Sweet, I walk in. Is anybody there?
There's nobody in the house. The
It's
small
a baby. Oh, God.
home. It's got Lady Aravel blankets on it. Lady Aravel, like go Aravel hat.
Uh-oh.
It's like wearing Patriots garb in most of the country because they hate us because they ain't us. You guys aren't American, but it's important. I don't know, Madrid outfits anywhere else. I don't know, whatever. Soccer people like.
Right. Well, yeah, I'm going to enter. Just at a quick glance, what do I see?
So roll me a perception check. And I was being way too nice, Neil.
I would like to take 20. Is that plus my modifier?
It is, yeah. So you're going to spend a considerable amount of time searching. Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I asked them to keep it there till I returned. So.
Okay, not a problem. So then you are going to take a 20, allowing you to get the total of a...
29.
Jeepers creepers. Do you bless that as well? In the name of Rogar!
I 100% would.
He
Where'd
would.
you get those peepers?
All right, so anyways, he
Rogar.
goes around and takes a 20 and like really searches the entire place to look for stuff. First of all, there's one thing that's pretty obvious. There's not exactly there is a mantle built in these homes because there needs to be fireplaces to keep people warm. They're not large, but they're there. On the mantle, right above it, there is an effigy to Lady Aravel. It's not large, and it's clearly hand carved by a not skilled carver that cared, but isn't good at what they're carving. But it's clearly a good size effigy made of to Lady Aravel. Some very, very basic painting used on it. The dark eyes part, the purple, it looks like smashed berries kind of painted on and whatnot. Anyways, somebody put effort in. You also notice that there is a small book. It's one of those almost like faith propaganda leaflets that you might find. It is very old, very worn, and clearly has been thumbed through many, many times. Honestly, it's been thumbed through so many times, you'd be surprised if she was the original owner of the little leaflet. That has, clearly the teachings of Lady Aravel Darkeyes. Other than that, you don't find anything pertaining specifically to the goddess. Other details of her home, but I think that's all you really cared about.
Yeah. So I would take both the book and I would snap the effigy, and I would take it and return to the throne room.
Yep. Okay. So they are, because he chose to do the spend an extended period of time, which isn't just 2 minutes, because you're doing checking one spot. It's a big area. You're checking, big. The homes aren't huge, but I'm actually not going to have him come bursting in at that moment. So we're going to go back to you, Neil. Pan across. You said your words. You made your point. What I need you to do now is to roll me an intimidation. Because that's literally what you were doing. And
I mean, yeah.
Valrin, you are also...
We're playing good cop versus the bad cop who's about to storm in, so...
Well, you're also welcome. I was going to say good cop, bad cop. In this scenario, you're actually welcome to roll a persuasion.
Ooh, yes.
Fucking intimidation.
Or give him advantage. Whatever you prefer.
Intimidation.
Oh, there's no advantage. We're playing... this isn't fun.
Yeah, I was about to say, do we even have...
Intimidation and diplomacy.
I wish I had diplomacy.
I had
perform oratory.
I played 5e last night, so...
I was being real reasonable. I was offering her. That was diplomacy. I wasn't saying this is what you must do or else. I was saying this is the offer I am making you. Should you wish to take it?
I get that. But you were also saying...
We're
punishments
using one as
I was
Can we use his intimidation?
I was debating the carrot and the stick with her rather than threatening the stick.
I'll allow you to roll diplomacy. And in that case, you're just giving him a +2 for 8 down there.
That sounds good. Yep.
So it's 23. Are you happy with your 23? Or do you want to maybe push it to that 25 mark?
She's a commoner. I don't know. DCs in Pathfinder are so messed up.
Yeah, they really are.
They were standard for a long time. It's 5e that's messed up.
Yeah, well, like, I'm used to 5e, though, so I'm like, this would be a pass in most scenarios.
That would be a good pass in most scenarios.
Would you like to add?
Yes, I think we should roll luck on this one because it sets the precedent. And having her burn all of Lady Erevel's stuff publicly would be...
It also will tell us how many we have to work with.
So, what, 25?
Fun fact. Diplomacy. If the creature is considered hostile, which in this encounter, this verbal encounter, she was definitely considered hostile as opposed to unfriendly, indifferent, helpful. Friendly or helpful. Okay. It's 5 steps. Hostile, unfriendly, indifferent, friendly, helpful.
No, she was unfriendly, not hostile.
No. In this conversation,
openly wearing the thing, I think, was part of it.
Openly wearing it, more or less lying to you at the beginning.
She knew why she was being called, and she deliberately wore it because she was being called.
Exactly. So this isn't drawing a sword; it's conversation hostile. The DC for that is actually 25 plus their charisma modifier. Well, she's just some common folk, ain't got no charisma modifier. 25 works. So she listens to the words that you say, watches, kind of is weighing things back and forth in her mind, and finally is like, My lord, can we at least come to some small agreement? I'm not going to question the law. I'm not going to. I understand that you are giving an opportunity for me to have another chance. I don't want to throw that away. May I attend a few lessons of Vrogar? Hear the other side of the tale, because I only know one side. And everybody knows, whether it be mortal or more, that there's 2 sides to every story. And maybe I can cast aside the goddess forever. But if it's just a bunch of bullocks, then may I just leave. Go back to my home I had before.
Raymond's gonna walk back up to his chair and sit down. Clearly thinking.
I will warn you, while I am one for forgiveness, the chosen of the blade is Set. If you can talk to him and ask to be taught.
If you would wait outside the room, stay with the guards. The chosen of the blade will return shortly. We will discuss this and we will let you know our verdict then.
Elliot says, we have the perfect location. This way. and
You give an appreciative nod to Elliot.
and leads her out, not out of the building, but into another chamber that's outside of earshot, sort of a thing.
Yeah, I will immediately turn to Rayo and just. That was bold of her. She knew why she was coming, and she decided to wear it openly.
It was bold. I suggest we give her several weeks with one, if he's amenable.
I feel like this would be the best course if he can convert her, and people see that she was converted. It would be rather effective.
He is the high priest. The chosen
No.
blade.
We just have to convince him. That's the hard part now.
Yes, well.
You guys hear the door open and close again as Elliot's coming back in from the back area where he had just taken her to. She's probably watched after by a guard or something like that. And then almost immediately afterwards, you hear the heavy footsteps and loud, moving of the door by a not so graceful and quiet one as he's making his way through the front.
Elliot,
I would say one's the most graceful of the three.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
well, beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
And one
Depends
appears in
on
the
how
middle
you
of the
define
room.
grace.
So,
Elliot, tell me, what was your opinion of that? Was that a fair assessment and judgment?
you said it to him as kind of like one's walking into the room. He's like, if you would like my honest input, I think the law is stupid. But he leans back and says, I think that you're going to have to really get the opinion of one, gesturing towards one as he's making way across the room. But I think an opportunity should be given. I honestly think an opportunity should be given. This is our way of displaying our laws and how they can both be harsh and lenient in the delivery of punishment to the citizens. Don't want to scare people off now, do we? Especially if we're spreading words of faith. Want to make sure we have the opportunity of conversion as opposed to swift punishments that will chase away, citizens that could have otherwise been converted, but most importantly, other citizens that don't give two flies about Lady Aravel, but also don't like the way that things are handled. And he says that, and then looks poignantly at one, because he's not really intimidated by one. The two of them actually have a decent relationship. So
one would just be like kind of approaching as the end of that conversation.
yeah, you would have heard it. You're very keen.
Yeah. So I would just approach, and you'd see him walk up towards you, and he'd have a broken. Is it wood?
Yep.
Yep. So he'd have this broken piece of wood in one hand and a book in another, and he just walks forward, He walks forward and sits down in his seat, and then he just throws the book and the wood on the ground, and he looks over and says, "So how was your talk?"
Interesting. She came here wearing a pendant of Lady Aravel, and at first showed very.
At that
little-
one stands up straight away, and you just see anger, like pure anger in his face.
Wait,
and
one. She has asked that she be taught the other side.
She wishes to learn the word of Roga.
One looks to you, and he says, "So she knew she was summoned before us, and she openly wore the sigil of Lady Aravel. She may as well spat in our face."
This
Yeah.
is not simply about her, one. This is an important case. It sets a precedent.
If this had been later on, I would agree with what you're saying, one. But this is important because unfortunately, she likely knew this. She had some protection in the sense that if we acted harshly, it would reflect badly upon us immediately. That is, however, not to say that if she was to actively undermine us in a major way that we wouldn't be out of line or acting harshly. But she also did seem to not be 100% convinced.
If I may, says Elliot, to one specifically.
Sorry, what did he say?
If I may.
Yes, Elliot.
He goes through the stuff that he has with him and produces the current leaflet, like pamphlet, the most recent iteration of it. So not the one that's necessarily put out for the other people, but the one that he's been working on for your approval to eventually put out for the people, of all the laws. And he hands it to you. And he says, these are the laws that currently exist in Cursefall. These are the laws that currently exist in the kingdom that you are slowly building up. There's a lot there, of course, because there needs to be laws for a kingdom to be able to rise and be successful, for the people to be prosperous. Prior to the foundation of Cursefall, the laws of the lands were simple. Don't kill your neighbor, don't keep slaves. Everybody knew them. Nobody knows those. And the fact that there are that many is a very, very difficult thing for people to change their mind for. People that have lived here for generations and generations. They're willing
One
to change.
stops him for a second and says, did she know that law?
Yes. From what I can understand, absolutely.
He just nods. If you want to continue.
But this is a transition. This is a time where you're taking people that have lived under almost no laws and are asking them, enforcing for them to live under many laws. There's going to be a transitional period. Deliver punishments of whatever degree, but she's literally asking for an opportunity to change. I will speak on behalf of the citizenry in saying, give them that opportunity. Like a child that continues to make a mess, they're asking you to teach them how to keep it clean.
If I look at the stuff that he put on the ground, can I infer that this was like a handout she was given probably not that long ago? Like it was a handout that was given to her. This isn't something she came to herself. Someone.
You're talking about that Lady Arraville pamphlet?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes.
It's really hard to tell. I mean, it's definitely one of those, like, it looks old. Like, actually, you know what? You are very familiar with parchments and age stuff and so on and so forth. You do me a favor. Roll me a scribe check.
I can do that.
What's a
A
scribe?
scribe's
check?
actually pretty good. Profession scribe.
Nice.
Okay. And what did you get for a total? A 19. That's beautiful. So I would say that you are looking at this. If you had to guess, this is probably something that's been passed like from hand to hand to hand, probably picked up at a market or something like that along the way. It has definitely shown the abuse of many different people owning it. And if you had to guess, it's printing probably 20 plus years ago. You know, it is old. But most importantly, the parchment itself, the material of the paper, you know that paper. You know that the smell of the paper, the feel of it. It is definitely something that originally came from Paradel.
That pamphlet likely originated in Paradale. This might have been an attempt at converting people outside of Paradale without having to push into Idir. I would say that if we can convert her, it would show an example that this is likely not the only one. People who own them would be able to come here and say, I would like to convert, and it would be not a danger to them.
What I would propose, if you are amenable one, allow this person to follow you, talk to you, learn from you for a number of weeks, up to a month. If within the month she doesn't see the wisdom of Vroga, she asks that she might leave. I'm amenable to this. However, she has infringed on my goodwill, and so she will receive an appropriate punishment in the form of monetary value, and I believe several lashes of a whip would also not go amiss.
Is this including following me around? Like, is her punishment whips and more or less to follow me around, or is that if she doesn't?
If she doesn't convert,
Okay.
then
yeah, all right.
take her money, beat her, and send her on her way.
The other option
Um,
is
It feels wrong saying take her money, beat her. Couldn't we have
when
done
you
this as a
say
male
that way,
character?
it doesn't sound so good, does it?
hey, you made it a woman.
Whoops.
the other,
It's on you, Scott. That's on you.
if we
Believe
The
in
other
equality
option would
for
be a
everyone.
brand.
Beat everybody equally. Sorry, go ahead, Tash.
option would be a brand, which would make her exile much easier to enforce. When we get to a much larger size, it'd be much easier to say that that brand is not welcome.
What brand?
If we make a brand for people who are exiled.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I understand.
Instead
What
There are
looks at you?
possibilities. She has agreed.
This is
That
not the
there will
outcome I
be-
want, but it's just a possibility.
If she's to convert, then she will publicly burn all of her items relating to Lady Arabelle. This is a powerful statement. However, if she doesn't convert, we will just burn them anyway once she leaves. I am keen to avoid bloodshed on our first significant matter, such as this.
Elliot will chime in
Uh.
one more time and say, if I may, Chosen of the Quill,
Yes.
I think they should be burned prior to the conversion therapy, as a bit of a show of sternness to the citizenry that it is not welcome here, even if we are giving an opportunity for people to be shown forgiveness.
Very well. Make
agree.
some,
Good idea.
make some pomp out of it then. Send some guards down, have them pull it out, pull it in a square, clearing, something of the such.
Is this all of it? He says, looking to one.
That's all I could find. Yes.
Are we searching
There
door to
is
door
one-
then? He says, looking to Rayrin.
When he says that, even though he looks to Rayrin, one says, possibly. I have some questions for her. Can you bring her back in, Elliot?
He does like a more of a head nod, less of a bow, and then he walks back to the other end of the room. He's gone for a couple minutes, so you guys can speak.
There is another option instead of beating on doors. If we burn these publicly, we ask that anyone that have anything they wish to bring forward could bring forward and have it burned without punishment.
An amnesty of sorts.
It
Also,
would
this is,
encourage people
where-
to bring it forth.
And if they don't, I'm sure that'll keep Dwayne busy for a while.
Indeed.
It would also show that if we then acted on people who didn't bring any forth, we gave them a chance to bring it forth without any punishment.
One nods. And he just sits. He's just standing. He sits back down and waits.
Okay.
Elliot comes back in a few minutes later. She comes in, and one of the first things that everybody notices is she's not wearing the necklace that she was before.
Good choice.
Yes! Smart choice.
She's holding it, of course, but she's holding it not like gingerly or anything like that. She's just simply holding it. As she goes to stand in front of the chairs, and Elliot takes his position next to you, he gives like a knowing nudge to Rayrin.
Yeah, so as she approaches, one gets up, looks at her holy symbol, looks down at his feet where her book and broken wood
That's when
effigy
she
is,
notices
and
that those
kicks
are on
them
the ground.
towards her.
Yeah, that's when she notices on the ground when he looks there, and when she notices on the ground and him standing up, you can see she almost like shrinks a little. Kick him towards her.
He
She-
kicks them towards her.
She kind of jumps back a bit of an overreaction, but you can imagine she's intimidated. You're not a small dude!
I love how she was all sassy when we were here. Now once here, she's like, "Fuck!"
He looks at her and nods down at the stuff and says, "Pick them up. They are yours, are they not?"
She looks to the other
Rayrin
two-
will give her a look from his. He's sitting there and he's like, "You know what to do."
She takes like a
It's
moment.
a warning look.
Yeah. She takes like a moment, and then she leans down and she bends down and picks them up.
One walks towards her and he says, I'm going to ask you a question. If you don't answer me, you will feel a pain that you haven't felt before. If you lie to me, I will know. And then he's going to cast a spell, which I have not added to my sheet because I had not picked a spell. But after last week, I figured that this is where it was going. So
I think I know what spell this is. It's a great Inquisitor spell. It's literally the class Inquisitor.
He casts interrogation.
Yes, let me look up the rules for it. And...
I linked it to you in Discord.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Oh, actually, I got it right here inside Roll20 anyways. So interrogation. Casting time 1 round. It's a full 6 seconds to cast that spell. Lasts for 1 minute per level. You're level 3, so that's 3 minutes. Living creature touched. You question the target, backed up by the threat of magical pain. You may ask 1 question per 2 caster levels, so that's a total of 1 question. The target can either... it's only him that can boost his caster level. The target can either answer the question or take 1d4 points of damage plus your wisdom bonus, which isn't small, and she's a commoner. The target is not compelled to answer truthfully, but the threat of pain gives it a -4 penalty to bluff checks to convince you when it's lying. She nods, you cast the spell, and touch her. Where do you touch her? Like on the forehead sort of a thing? Like with the branding mark?
No, it'd be... Where would he touch her? He would touch her... As weird as it is for a girl, but it would be like on the sternum, which
that's fine. The chest.
You know...
It's not weird. It's the chest.
He just touches her there.
Yeah.
And then he asks, are there any others who are openly, or not openly, but are there any others like you worshipping Lady Erebel in the confines of our kingdom?
Roll me, what is the word I'm looking for? Sense motive check. Everybody can roll.
She's terrified.
Guidance myself as well.
No. Because you're going to sit there and say, in the name of Rogar, I'm watching you. You know.
It's back, baby.
All right.
Don't worry, it'll be gone in a minute.
I'm just like hoping he doesn't kill her. Just like.
It depends if she doesn't answer. Well, then
I know. Solves your problems right there, doesn't it? So you guys looking at her, wow, that's a really good sense motive. You guys are looking at her, and oh man, you can see that she is really scared. Like she does not want to give away what she's going to say. But as she is coming to the conclusion, maybe I won't answer, you can see all of a sudden her eyes go from being nervous to opening wide, like she's starting to feel pain. Like she knows that you are not lying about not answering this question. And so her eyes go wide as she realizes that, oh, there's a lot of pain that's about to come in as a headache starts to form, sort of a thing. And she's like, yes, there are other worshippers. There are 7 of us in total.
Names.
She says them.
Okay. Elliot, will you take note of those names, please?
He nods and if you didn't know Elliot, he would just seem like he coolly is writing the names. For those of you that know Elliot, knows that he's unhappy that he has to write down those names.
So, I would give Elliot a look like, it's okay, I have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
So after he does that, I think it's only... Is it only 1 question I may ask? I believe?
It's 1 question with 1 casting.
So I cast it again.
Oh my god.
I would, because it's 6 seconds to cast this spell, and part of casting this spell there is various components. Let's see. Does it say here? Doesn't say what the components are. Verbal, somatic, all that stuff. Damn you, roll 20 for not having all the answers. I'll look at the link that you sent me in Discord.
Yeah, I can't see it in there either.
Wait, it should say it right here. Yeah, VS. Verbal and somatic. So what does the verbal aspect of this sound like?
The verbal aspect?
Mm-hmm.
Um, he would probably there would be probably some verse instilled in him when he was being trained by the Order of the Broken Chain, and he would say it in Orcish. It would just be some kind of, like by Vrogar's will, you will answer.
But it's in Orcish, so she wouldn't necessarily understand it anyways.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So more or less you're speaking Orcish. Like in Orcish is a gruff sounding language, and you're a big and actually literally angry dude. So it's like it's almost like when you hear anybody say something nice in Russian, you're like, why are you trying to kill me, man? why are you so aggressive? So you can tell that she's just intimidated by that as you do it again. And then once again, place a finger on her forehead. Oh, sorry, chest.
Yep.
Chest.
Yep. And I ask her another question. I ask her, are you here to sow instability or mount some type of resistance in our realm?
She thinks for a moment, because it's kind of a complex question for a complex answer. She thinks for a moment, and it's not that she's trying to be obstinate. She's just literally thinking. But then she starts to feel the pain come on anyways, so she goes to say a bit of a quicker answer, saying, not directly, not exactly. I just always liked the teachings of Dark Eyes and thought it was. And then she definitely chooses different words than last time. Strange that we couldn't, but there might be reasoning for it, and I'm willing to learn those reasons.
Okay. One casts the spell again.
Jesus, I've got 11
And
spells per day.
The next question he poses her is, he says, were you given your effigy by anyone in the town? Like, I can see it's like being carved or whatever. More rephrase. Were you given this here, or did you receive it before you came here?
I picked it up at the market in Rid. I had lived in Rid prior, and there was a market. There's people that come through Rid from time to time, merchants, and they had it as one of their things that could be purchased.
Okay. Do you want me to roll another sense motive?
No. Actually, that sense motive you guys rolled before, and I was allowing to go for like kind of like the scene.
Yeah.
Trust me. You're 25, and she has a -4. If she rolled a natty 20 with a 0 charisma modifier, assuming she put a rank in it, the best she could get is a 17.
One looks back towards the other two and says, "Is there anything I've forgotten?"
I would look to her and just. I don't think so.
I want to make sure she isn't an agent sent here to undermine us.
Commissar 1 needs to know if the heresy has been handled.
I do not feel that Nelly is here to sow undue discord. However, I hope that she appreciates the chance and opportunity that she's been given. She understands that she's broken the law. She understands that she is being given another chance. I would ask that she appropriately asks for forgiveness from us.
Now scared shitless, especially with the pain and everything has been thrown onto her, she literally falls to her knees.
One approaches her and casts his last spell for the day, and he asks her one more question. He says, are you actually open to learning and maybe converting to Vrogar, or is this just a ploy to avoid punishment?
Now, are we doing like a reach around to get the chest still, or are we just going to do the head now? That
He would just like put his the palm of his hand on the top of her head.
It's like the old Pope blessing.
Yeah.
Hand on the head.
It was maybe a bit of lip service at first, a bit of it, but no, honestly, I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to listen. I can feel the power of Vrogar in front of me.
He kneels down and gets like to her level, and he says, "You will spend the next month with me, as will the other 7 or 6."
She is genuinely terrified. Like, oh, you know, this is rough. Now imagine 30 more of these. Ah!
I asked that we have a moment to discuss some things. I have an idea.
Elliot nods and then goes and scoops her up from the floor and leads her back to the room where she was beforehand.
Does she have her belongings, or are they on the ground?
They kind of like spilled out of her hands, like I will say half of what the effigy spilled out of her hands as she like kind of fell down beforehand.
I can't hear a single thing. I think my sound has gone out.
That's not good.
Quick, everyone slag Jake off, quick.
So, wait, excuse me. That sounds messy.
It doesn't sound messy. He's not in this campaign.
Oh, God. Oh, we twisted words twice. Now I'm confused. No.
You know how I could tell? We didn't start late.
Oh. He still never changed his nickname away from being Tardy Cat, which I think is hilarious. So,
true.
I'll explain my idea out of character here now while he's getting that fixed.
sure.
We have the names of the other people now. I think we go forward with the
I
public.
can't hear anything. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Are they dead?
Can we go to a quick break?
Sure. You want to do
that
that real
works.
quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Rather than what you were doing. All right, we'll see everybody shortly.
Excuse me, we're
right
having some
back.
technical difficulties.
Yeah. Only one of us.